Hello students, welcome to NutriZoo Learning. I hope you are all doing great. Today's topic is Rivet Popper Hypothesis and Tillman's experiment, one of the most important concepts from biodiversity and conservation. Questions from this topic are frequently asked in your examinations. Watch this video till end because you will understand the Rivet Popper Hypothesis, Tillman's experiment, and finally revise everything with a quick memory points that will help you remember the topic easily. If you are revising this topic before an exam, you can increase the playback speed to 1.25 or 5x according to your convenience. Now let us begin. First, let us understand the importance of species diversity. According to Rivet Popper hypothesis, communities with more species, that is high in biodiversity, are more stable than communities with fewer species. In simple words, an ecosystem containing a large number of species functions better and remains more stable than an ecosystem with only a few species. Now let us see the advantages of having high biodiversity. The first advantage is greater ecosystem stability. A stable ecosystem can continue functioning properly even when environmental conditions change. The second advantage is better resistance to natural and man-made disturbances. Natural disturbances include floods, droughts, cyclones, and fires, whereas man-made disturbances include pollution, deforestation, and habitat destruction. An ecosystem with high biodiversity can resist these disturbances much better. The third advantage is higher productivity. More species efficiently utilizes available resources, resulting in greater biomass production and higher ecosystem productivity. So remember these three important advantages: greater ecosystem stability, better resistance to natural and man-made disturbances, and higher productivity. These 3 points explains why biodiversity is so important. Now let us understand Tillman's experiment. David Tillman conducted an outdoor plot experiment to study the relationship between biodiversity and ecosystem functioning. When we look at his observations, the first observation was that outdoor plots with more species showed less year to year variation in biomass. This means ecosystems with more species remain more stable over time. The second observation was that increased species diversity resulted in higher ecosystem stability. The third observation was that increased diversity contributed to higher productivity. Now let us see the conclusion. The conclusion is very simple. More species lead to greater stability leads to higher productivity. So the complete sequence is more species, greater stability, and higher productivity. This is the main conclusion of Tillman's experiment and is very important for examinations. Now let us understand the famous analogy given by Paul Ehrlich. He compared an aeroplane with an ecosystem. In this analogy, aeroplane equals to ecosystem and rivets equals to species. Now let us understand the explanation. Removing one rivet may not immediately damage the plane. Similarly, losing one species may not immediately destroy an ecosystem. However, gradual removal of rivets weaken the plane. Likewise, gradual loss of species weakens the ecosystem. Now imagine removing a rivet from a critical part such as the wing support. That single rivet may cause the entire aeroplane to crash. Similarly, the loss of a critical species may affect the entire ecosystem and eventually leads to ecosystem collapse. Now let us understand the ecosystem interpretation. Loss of species leads to a weak ecosystem. Loss of critical species finally results in the collapse of entire ecosystem. Therefore, every species contributes to the proper functioning of the ecosystem. The loss of a critical species may affect the entire community and ultimately the entire ecosystem. This analogy beautifully explains why conserving every species is important. And finally, let us quickly revise everything. There are two important scientists here. The first is David Tillman. His outdoor plot experiment concluded that more species results in greater stability and higher productivity. The second is Paul Ehrlich. His Rivet Popper hypothesis concluded that loss of critical species may collapse the ecosystem. Now let us quickly remember the important memory points. More biodiversity leads to more stability. More biodiversity leads to higher productivity. Rivet represents species. Aeroplane represents ecosystem. Critical species loss leads to ecosystem collapse. If you remember these 5 points, you can easily answer most of the examination questions from this topic. Now let us conclude this topic. According to the Rivet Popper hypothesis, ecosystems with more species are more stable. The advantages of biodiversity are greater ecosystem stability, better resistance to disturbances, and higher productivity. Tillman's experiment proved that more species leads to greater stability and higher productivity. Finally, Paul Ehrlich's Rivet Popper hypothesis explains that the gradual loss of species weakens the ecosystem while the loss of critical species may collapse the entire ecosystem. So always remember, more biodiversity means a healthier, stronger, and a more productive ecosystem. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NutriZoo Learning for more easy to understand biology lectures. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.